Hello, everyone. Oh,
Hi.
there's no more people. Okay, so I'm Zhongpei, and welcome everyone to today's KubeVela community call. And today's agenda is introduction to kube-trigger, which will be introduced by Fog. So I guess people are all there. And Fog, are you ready to share your screen?
Sure. Sorry to interrupt, Zhongpei. I would like to say something before the sharing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think someone have noticed that Anup has just become one of the maintainer of the KubeVela community. So congratulations to Anup, and we are looking forward to more participations from Guideware, and we are glad to make closer cooperation. And thanks everyone.
Appreciate that. Thank you. And I'm sure we'll all make KubeVela better together.
Cool. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah, congratulations. And I saw that Jimbo has sent our Google agenda doc in the channel. So please sign up in the doc. It will be very helpful. Thank you.
Yes, please sign up. It will be very helpful and important for us.
And I don't think I have the, I can't share my screen. Okay.
Yeah, do you have the permissions?
Yeah, I think you have just disabled the screen sharing. And Zhongpei, you should see that there is a arrow button on the side of this share screen button. And you should be able to modify the configuration. You can try it.
Yes. Everyone can share the screen.
Yeah, it's okay now.
Yes, I can share my screen now.
Okay, so.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, hi everyone. So today I'm gonna introduce about kube-trigger. So basically, kube-trigger is a tool that combines event listening with action triggers, and it's now an official add-on in our ecosystem. So in kube-trigger, generally we can have three parts here. So the first one is event source. So in this source, we can have different event sources, like the most common, the Kubernetes events. It's like you can have multiple custom resource in your cluster, and every time your resource is modified, it can create an event. And if you specify the the Kubernetes events in the source, then our trigger can watch this event source. And other source like webhook and cron jobs, etc. And when the event is get by the source, it will pass to a filter. So you can write some judgment to your event. So only the judgment is met, then the event can be filtered. And after the event is filtered, it can finally to do some actions. For example, you can patch some Kubernetes objects, or execute some command, or send some webhooks or notifications, etc. So let's take an overview to this kube-trigger. So first, the source here. Currently, we only support resource virtual, but we're gonna support more like webhook and cron jobs in the near future. So if you want to use a resource virtual, you just need to specify the type to resource virtual and the properties with the resource type that you want to watch. For example, you can watch the deployment, and you can only watch the update event of your deployment. And after the deployment is watched, it will pass through the filter, and you can use your filter. It's basically queue. So you can specify that only the data of this deployment, its status is ready, which means its ready replicas is equal to its replicas. Then this event will be filtered. And after the event is filtered, it can do some actions. And in this action, it's actually all queues. So you can customize your actions. For example, we have some built-in actions like patch resource. So which means that if you have a deployment and it's ready, then you can patch some other resource like, for example, config map, and you can use some patch strategy here. And this action is basically, same as what you can do in kubecontrol, kubectl patch. And we can see some real demo here. So one of the common use of this kube-trigger is that if your application is use some ref objects, like config map is one of its ref objects, and if your config map is modified, your application won't be updated at once. It's because if you are using ref objects, our controller won't watch these resources. But now you can use kube-trigger to, let the application be automatically updated. So basically, we can have this. Sorry. We can have, for example, So this is the trigger service. The trigger service type is actually the custom resource of kube-trigger. So in this custom resource, you can specify all the source, filter, and actions that we mentioned before. So in this config, we want to, first watch the resource, which is config map, and if the config map, its name is satisfy this regex that equals to this will trigger update, then it can do some application update. In this action, which calls bump application revision, it will actually, update the published version of this application. And it can select the application with some label that we specified here. Okay, I have already, apply this trigger service to my cluster. So let's do some examples here. First of all, we can watch the application here. So we have two applications, 1 and 2, and we have two config map, 1 and 2. Each one will trigger the other one. So let's edit the config map here. Oh, the data is here. We can edit the content here, and so the application, the config map is updated, and you can see that the application is also triggered. We can check out the detail of this application. You can see that the published version of this application is actually, updated to 2. The former one is 1 actually. So in this case, if you want to, update your application, or like to say restart your application, if some specified customer resource is updated, then you can use this kube-trigger. And we can show that the other config map here, the 2, it will only update the other application here. This time we can check the second application. And we can see that its published version is also updated. And in addition to this usage, we also want this mechanism to, faster our reconcile. So in the in our application of workflow reconciliation, you know, in the controller, because you know we can apply multiple custom resources, not only like deployments, stateful set, but also users define the custom resource. So we cannot watch all the resources in our controller. So if you want to apply some resources in the workflow step or application, then you may watch that the application may took longer than the time than the resource is actually healthy. This is because we cannot watch all the resource in the controller, but kube-trigger can actually help to solve this problem. We can first check out the current scenario here. We can watch the deployment here, and I'm gonna use a workflow run. So let's oops. So let's watch workflow run here. Currently, there's no workflow run, and we can use old workflow run. I'm gonna show you here the late reconcile workflow run. This workflow run will try to apply a deployment with 6 replicas. So it will become so when it's ready, it will take a long time. So our controller will wait even longer, because our controller is not watching the resource that is deployment. Our controller will actually, you know, use some backoff time to loop the reconciliation. So let's apply this. Okay, our workflow run is reconcile faster at the beginning, but it will slow down when the time pass by. Okay, you can see that the deployment is actually already ready, but our workflow run is still executing because it does not notice that the underlying resources is healthy. So it will take longer time for it to notice that its underlying resources is healthy. The max reconcile time is actually 1 minute in the controller, but it's also configurable. So as the time reaches to 52 seconds, our workflow run is finally succeeded. Okay, let's take another. Let me delete the deployment here first. Okay. And let's take another example that we use kube-trigger. We can check out the we can check out this YAML. So this is called immediately reconcile workflow run. The only difference is between it and the last one is we have this label here called trigger dev watch true. And why I add this label is because in my trigger service, I can show you in a second. Oh, not this one. Sorry. Okay, in my trigger service, I will only create my event listener for the workflow run that with labels called the trigger watch equals true. So only with this label, the workflow run will reconcile immediately. but it's up to your configuration, and this is only my configuration. You can do yours. Let's take a try. Okay, the deployment is up, and let's wait for a couple seconds. Okay, we can see that after the deployment is ready, the workflow run is succeeded immediately. This is what can kube-trigger, do. Actually, we can take this diagram, for example. So actually, what I'm doing now is, in my kube-trigger config, when I have this workflow run created, there are two trigger config. So the first one is that what I just showed you. Is this. This trigger service will actually watch the resource called workflow run. And when a new workflow run with label trigger watch equals to true create, then I will try to create a custom resource called event listener. Why we need this custom resource is that we need an intermediate custom resource to convert all the different types of events to a single truth of event that we will actually watch in the workflow run controller. Let's take a look at this picture. So first of all, if I create a workflow run with that label, our kube-trigger config will actually create an event listener, and this is associated to this workflow run. And I have another kube-trigger service here, which is called create event, a record event. So this is what we can really watch the results and trigger the workflow run to reconcile. So in this example, I only watch the deployment with update event. And when the event comes in, I will try to pass the filter, which means the deployment must be ready with its ready replicas equals to replicas. And after that, I will do an action, which is record event. It will actually, add this event to a custom resource called event listener. We can check out this here. So in this custom resource event listener, it will the only data in it is events list. And now we can see the event here is actually the deployment we just watched and the event it just produced. And so since this event listener is changed, our workflow run controller will watch this custom resource so that it will convert its event to an event of workflow run. And after that, our workflow run will try to reconcile the second time so that this time it will notice that the underlying resource is actually ready so that the workflow run status will also become succeeded. Yeah, so basically that's all of this demo. And for more of this with the trigger service record event here, in addition to the triggers of watch deployment, I also add one called resource watcher and it will watch config map. Let's see what will it do. I can edit this config map here, and it will not trigger the workaround to reconcile because the workaround here is already succeeded, so it will not reconcile the second time. But if you check out the event listener here, you can see that it still records the new event that triggered by config map. So with this mechanism, you can in fact do a lot of things. For example, it's basically more like a very simple controller, watch a customer resource and pass some filter and do the action. So actually we have this patch objects action. And if you take a look at this event listener customer resource, what I do is just use kube-trigger to write a very simple controller of this customer resource. So first I'll look, watch some resource like deployment or config map, whatever, and I will add this resource data, or you can call it events, into this customer resource. So kube-trigger is actually doing the controller part for a customer resource like event listener, and you can do a lot more. Currently, we only support, the event source like Kubernetes objects watcher, but in the near future, as I said, we will support more like webhooks or cron jobs. So in that time, you can, combine continuous integration with deployment with kube-trigger and application and more. So yeah, so that's all of my demos today. Any questions?
Hey, Fogg, this is great. Just a couple of questions. The first one is there any way to aggregate? Are there any aggregate functions on the source types? Can I trigger actions on if I see multiple events happening together?
Oh, yes. I see. You want to watch only multiple events trigger together, and you will then, patch some resource?
Yeah, sort of, yes. So maybe it's for intelligence, right? I want to make sure that I am seeing patterns together, which I can then run through maybe an ML pipeline or something to figure out instances of correlation between events, etc. So I do want to aggregate on multiple source functions. Maybe it's like an OAM on a pod versus maybe an ingress request type or call or something that we might be having custom Kubernetes events around. So yeah, and I might want to trigger based on multiple of those events happening.
Oh, I see. We currently, I don't know, sort of support this because you can write multiple triggers in one config.
Oh, no. Fogg, I think the direction is not we don't need to write multiple triggers, but we just need to watch the Prometheus source, and we can aggregate those event or metrics in that single source. We can aggregate at Prometheus or AWS CloudWatch or anything other source. Then we can trigger actions. Even we have multiple triggers, we still need to aggregate them together. So I think we can put the aggregate thing outside in the external system. Then we can do the trigger stuff.
So is that something, Jim, you're saying that is already supported or will be coming soon?
I know. I think watch the Prometheus is not fully supported now, but I think your idea is very great. I think we will support in the next milestone or more soon. And
awesome.
yes, I want to say something important that we really want to thanks to the author of the kube-trigger project. They are Shelly Jiang and Fog Dong, and they are also in the Zoom meeting now. I think they can provide more detailed message about this kind of design in the soon.
Thank you both.
Yeah, so as Jimbo said, we can aggregate events to one single source of truth, because if you want to write multiple triggers in the trigger service, then it will be hard to decide the relation between your triggers should be parallel or sequential. So it's better if you can wrap them into one single source of truth.
Yes, for the trigger, I totally agree. I was more concerned of the source. Aggregation on the source is what, like Jimbo said, if you could aggregate based on a Prometheus source and I can aggregate there, I think that should be good enough.
Yeah, that's a great proposal. We can take a look at in the next version, probably.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Fog. And there's another thing. Recently, a noob team have a great contribution to the Terraform controller project, and I have to say thank you to the noob team, especially Ramesh. I don't know if he's here. I don't see him. You can say thank you to the Ramesh, and yes, and. He contributed to very useful features recently, and thanks to the Anoop team.
Oh yeah, I'll thank them for you guys, and I thank them for me as well. A bunch of folks are already working on KubeVela stuff. None of those have come out. We're hoping that once we have tested those features out, we can contribute it back to the community. I know James Dobson, Jerome, and Lena King, they're all working hard along with Ramesh and the other folks. So hope to see more contributions sooner.
Well, great. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So if there's not any more questions, I guess this is all for today's meeting.
Yeah, I would like to add another comment. Yeah, I find that we have lots of people from the committee meetings that have made contributions to the KubeVela organization, including the main repo and other related repos, such as the Terraform controller. And I would like to say that thank you all, everyone. And it is possible for you to raise issues if you in the community repo if you want to become a reviewer or the approver of the KubeVela repo, and we are welcome to more contributions from everyone. Yeah, so it's just like we have seen a lot of people in mainland China. They applied for the role because maybe we have just mentioned that in the Chinese community meeting. So if there is anyone interested in that, I think we are open with that proposal. Yeah.
Yes. Any ideas? I think that mainly talks about that there's a community repo and you can raise issues to nominate anyone, yourself or your teammates, to be a community role to KubeVela community, like reviewers or approvers.
Yes, we are very open on the community management, governance.
Okay, no feedback.
No, I think I think it's good. You put that recommendation out there. Now I think it needs to sink into people so that they can find time for it, and then they should be able to apply based on their personal interest as well. So yeah, that's great that you guys are being open about it.
Okay, so great. Any other issues? Okay, no. So, okay, so that's all for today's meeting. Thanks everyone for today. Goodbye and have a nice day.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.